In today's episode, we're going to be discussing The Shawshank Redemption, which is a great film. A lot of people out there have seen it, hopefully. One of my all-time favorites. I think it's a movie that a lot of other people have enjoyed over the years. Now, the reason we're talking about this movie is that I think a lot of times when we think about spirituality, we think it's got to be something, where you're reading some intense text or at a church or in a temple or elsewhere. But I think the reality is that you can have an experience, a spiritual experience, and learn something about spirituality, even from something as simple as watching a movie. And in the case of The Shawshank Redemption, I think there's actually a lot of really, really interesting themes to pick apart in that movie, which may carry lessons for all of us. So we're excited to do this episode. Hopefully, there's some folks out there who get some benefit from it. Joining us for this episode, my man, Neil Desai, Dr. Neil Desai, ophthalmologist in the New York City area, a longtime friend of mine, big fan of The Shawshank Redemption.
Stay close to about 18 to 20 years in there, right? You're the numbers guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. A couple decades at this point.
Yeah.
So when we look at The Shawshank Redemption, there are just a tremendous number of themes in there that I think we can pick apart. And maybe just starting with the character of Andy Dufresne, played brilliantly by Tim Robbins. Andy is a character who really has, in many ways, has his humanity stripped from him due to the process of being in prison, and yet still retains a very, very hopeful outlook on life and never gives up on the fact that there are some shreds of goodness within humanity. And maybe just there, yeah. I mean, Ray, Neil, just your thoughts on Andy as a character and what he went through.
I think it was a fire character development. Being raped in prison is crazy.
Yeah.
That is like the most, like, that probably strips everything of you. You know what I mean? Like, ego, like your dignity, your sexuality, everything. And just like the fact that he, like we was talking about earlier, like he probably convinced himself at one point that, oh, maybe I did pull the trigger.
Right.
Just because he's been in there for so long, you know what I mean? And didn't actually realize until the guy, the Tommy guy, you know what I mean? When he came in there, he told him, oh, like, the story of
right, the
actual killer or whatever. And he was like, and that's when he remembered everything.
I mean, he was also raped by the judicial system, right? In that case,
yeah.
2 life sentences.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that I can think of is just, I would have, maybe one of my issues too, is I would have just pure anger. I would just be pissed in every possible way. 2 life sentences.
For a crime he didn't commit.
Yeah, for something he didn't commit. Yeah. I would be off the wall. So that would have taken me right away. But it's interesting because the way Red describes him, he said he just seemed like a guy taking a walk in the park. That alone is, I think.
What do they decide as life sentences?
What's the trigger for it? Or?
No, like what? Like how many years is a life?
It's just, I guess it's just until you. Yeah, that's a good point.
Why would you give him 2 life sentences?
Yeah, that's just it's
basically like, bro, you're never getting out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. But also, like at that time, right when I because I never watched Shawshank Redemption. So
until recently,
yeah, when I watched it last night. So when he talked about it, I thought it was the Green Mile. As I was watching, I'm like, this is not the Green Mile. Yeah. And I was texting him about it. I'm like, oh my, this is something totally different. You know what I mean?
Kind of a similar vibe.
Yeah, this is where the age gap shows up.
Yeah. Right? But I'm watching it and I'm like, he was like, as you said, like he was raped by the judicial system. And like at that time, they had nothing. You know what I mean? It was like 1940s.
Yeah, there was cell phones,
no DNA, anything. So like, you did that. You know what I mean? That's basically how it was. Like, oh, anybody could say something. You know what I mean? And basically, like, that's probably going to be like
and
what
also,
it is.
Sometimes I feel like the way the system works, people just want quick answer and move on. You know, so like it still happens. Wrongful convictions still happen. You know, and so like with all the evidence. So I think. Probably a lot more likely kind of back then as well.
Yeah. My question is, if either of you were wrongfully accused and put in prison for something, how do you think you would react? I mean, would you be able to conduct yourself with the kind of grace he did, or would you flip out?
That's what I'm saying. I would just be pure. I just see red.
Yeah,
I'd just be pure rage. I'm sure that at some point that would just turn into kind of loss of hope, or like that would just turn into just being dejection essentially. But
I don't know if I could do jail, so I'd probably end my life before I went into jail.
We were talking. Sorry, me and my girlfriend were just talking about that. We were talking about a doctor that got convicted, and he actually, unfortunately committed suicide before. But that'd be on the table, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think I could do it. I don't think I could sit in that cell for 365 over and over and over again. Like, at a point, like in the movie, like, dude, they were like, I mean, they kind of like lost track of years. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They were at 10 at one point.
Especially guys as cute as us. We wouldn't survive in jail.
I mean, bro, it just, I couldn't. I would not be able to do it, bro. Like, I think that's why I live so like straight. You know what I mean? Because I'm bro, I'm not doing anything that like is remotely going to. There's not even going to be a sniff of it.
Also, it's just not worth it, right? It's just not worth it.
So the next character we want to talk about is the character of the warden. An interesting character, especially within the context of religion and spirituality, because the warden kind of typifies the hypocritical outward religious person, the person who's constantly quoting scripture.
The essence of faking the funk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like it was.
Yeah, and so we it's an interesting character study because he's constantly quoting the Bible, yet in practice, it's his daily life is essentially lived in contradiction to everything that Jesus asks us to do,
or using like the vulnerability of people or sincerity of people with religion kind of as a tool against them, which is often done all the time, like tool of manipulation,
Right.
I mean, he got what he deserved at the end, to be honest with you. I mean, he probably deserved to be raped in jail too. Like, I'm not gonna hold you, but
unfortunately, a pretty like standard prototype of people, of certain people, that character was created because it exists,
Yeah.
You think it exists like now in the Jesus in prisons?
No, I think it exists all over the world. Just like people using other people's sincere vulnerabilities against them. Like someone may have faith, someone may have, really. I think their faith is important to them, and it's sincere. And then someone using that vulnerability against them. I think that happens quite a bit for their profit, for other reasons. So that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think we're all probably guilty of it at some point in our lives too,
I think so.
Even in the most minor ways,
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting warning, for all of us to kind of, really look hard at making sure we're not being hypocritical in these things, because I think it's a very, very easy slope to start slipping down where, if you start to think that you're superior to others, you can start justifying all kinds of
and the mind is tricky like that. We're great at just rationalizing things that we do, and part of us doesn't realize it, and that can really take a route. And at some point, maybe the warden was sincere, in his faith. Maybe he was sincere, like in the quotes that he put in his office, but that can slip really easy,
I think at one point in the like beginning, middle of the movie, like when it first started, when the library was first getting like built, I feel like there was a little sincerity there. But then when like he saw that he could profit off of Andy,
when the eyes get big and you see, hey, there's an open cookie jar right there. Let's just take a little nibble, and then a nibble turns into stacking cookies.
And he realized how much of a genius this guy was. You know what I mean? Like,
and because of that, he didn't want to let him go. Yeah. Now that's my tool. That's my access to the.
I texted Gopal. I'm like, dude, this guy's doing opposite prisons taxes, bro. Like, this is crazy, bro. Like, imagine doing everybody's taxes and you in jail. Like, what are we talking about here?
But it gave him that access to privileges, to respect, to like,
Nobody was gonna mess with him no more.
Yeah, give him protection. It allowed him to help his friends.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one of the small messages, just like knowledge and education of how things work, is a good thing too. Like it provides you access.
One of the biggest reasons I want to discuss this movie on this episode is a really, really interesting part of the movie is how the prisoners suffer from quote unquote institutionalization. And particularly the scene with the older prisoner Brooks, which I think to me is one of the hardest scenes to watch in the movie. But this idea that if you're in a prison long enough, eventually the prison becomes a home of sorts.
Yeah.
That
it's
you
routine,
and that you crave the stability of what it is. And in the movie, the character Brooks is within the prison is a respected, educated man. Outside the prison, he's an ex-con without a lot going for him. Now, the reason I think this is an interesting kind of aspect of the movie is that within a lot of spiritual traditions, I'd say, particularly within Hindu and Buddhist thought, is this idea that we humans tend to self-create prisons, mental prisons, right? That we construct identities that we like to have around us to keep us kind of safe and warm, even if they're false identities. So just curious from both of you whether you feel like in your life there have been aspects that have where you have created an identity to kind of keep yourself safe, even if it's not necessarily been to your own benefit.
That's a really tough, complex one, but kind of when you're talking about it, I think about it as more identities that are associated with expectations. I think one of the big traps is just expectations about how things should be, how people should be, how the future should be, how you should be, and so I think for me, that's often, it still is, it always is, you have to kind of keep an eye on it a little bit. But I think expectations is maybe it's part of the same thing, but I think that's been like the biggest trap. But also, I think it's both like a carrot, in that it keeps you motivated, it keeps you going, it keeps you maybe excited about things, but it's also, I think, an opportunity for disillusionment or loss of hope when things don't meet that, or sadness, or
right.
People say emotion is an expectation mismatch. Like when it doesn't hit, then it kind of, I think, becomes a trap. A little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
When I'm at work, or like, like when you get on the phone with like the doctor's office or something, I have this saying where I use my white voice.
Wait, sorry. Wait, can you clarify on that a little bit?
Like this voice, like,
yep.
This is like
no, but you say when you sorry, when you call the doctor's office, you said
doctor's office, or like just anything, just
any kind of like
like anything like professional, like professional, to use the professional white voice or whatever.
Yeah. You would not. No, you got to give me.
I think it's more funny you say, and I get you, and I get kind of how you're saying it, but it's just funny hearing that from a white person. And I don't know if that's okay label for you, but
I'm half Puerto Rican and half Italian.
Sorry, that's right.
You feel like you've unified the identities now.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good now.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'll say for myself, I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but just, I'd say a few years ago, so much of my identity was wrapped up in my work persona, I think I really defined myself by it. And the reality is there was a long stretch of time where I wasn't in finance, and yet, it became a very comfortable identity,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I think it's a really interesting question of how often are we living in self-created mental prisons?
I just had a so when you were talking about the doctor's office, you were saying those are like two different personas that you have, or like how did that kind of weave into I guess the question that Gopal was asking, or the movie?
I mean, not really too much of like what he was talking about. I just think that like that's the only thing I can really think of that I do, that like I try to like you know what I mean, like I mask or whatever.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than that, I think I'm pretty fine. You know what I mean? hey, do you have an appointment for April 4th at 3 p.m.? You know what I mean? My name's Raymond Scarduzio. Oh, you want birth? You know?
I kind of want to touch upon a little bit of like what you were saying. You kind of said you had kind of like chosen your work persona and was kind of comfortable. It fit. You felt okay with it. It kind of got you where you want to go in a certain way.
Right.
I think for me, I think you can call it whatever you want, but like I consider it a privilege. But I think growing up and even now, I feel like just been put myself in a lot of different settings, or different kind of cultural settings or subcultural settings, or and I think that kind of lets you see how that persona can like change, and how you can even how you interact changes, like the responses you get changes, like and that lets you see that it's kind of not this solid thing. It is this like really shaky, flexible, moving thing. And it's like it's not as solid as a lot of people, believe it to be, or that a lot of people kind of just naturally evolve into like this one thing, and it happens very slowly.
Yeah.
It almost like petrifies, and so like you don't even realize you're in it. And so I think being able to like, and that's why I think it's so important to like travel or to like step outside of your comfort zone, because you see how fluid it really is, or you can even say unstable in some ways, I think.
Yeah.
And I think some people even I can say sometimes it makes me crave the stability of just like, a single sense of self or something like that.
Yeah. And I think this is like a huge point of emphasis. It's particularly in Hindu philosophy and Buddhist philosophy, is this idea is that the persona is essentially a false construct. It's like it's a very temporary construct, right? Like I could say, oh, I was in finance, or you can say I'm a physician, right? Yeah. But the reality is there was a number of years in your life where you were not a physician.
Yep.
Right. There'll be a point when you're retired, when I'm retired, right? When we're not our professional identities, right? But if most of us, like if somebody just came up to you and asked, I'm going to ask this to both of you, Neil, who are you? Ray, who are you? Like, how would you define yourself in one sentence?
You can't, man. That's a tough thing to
and I feel like most people would say, oh, they would say my profession.
Ray, who are you?
Yeah.
I think I'm just I think I'm a regular guy, regular loving guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What does that mean? Like, what do you mean by like you're a regular guy? Like, what does a regular guy mean?
Regular guy, bro. Like,
but I think
you guys have like professional, like you guys went to school. Oh,
you mean in
stuff.
that
like,
regard?
I'm just regular. You know what I mean? Like,
interesting.
I'm like the average citizen in life.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I disagree with that.
But like you know me on a more intellectual level. You know what I mean? Like I can think about that, or like I could go to those places and intellectually like with you like on a feeling level, but I don't know what it's like to be an eye doctor or what you did. You know what I mean? Like I'm just a regular guy.
I guess I got two questions. Do you think being like, how do you perceive like what a regular guy is? Like, do you think that's a good thing, a bad thing, or it is what it is? And number two, do you think like maybe someone in a specialized profession is that different from a regular guy?
It's like yes and no. Like, yeah, obviously the money aspect you guys make, so like that takes you up and above. But like you guys are, I mean, if you strip that, we're just regular, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the only thing that like.
So it's the money that kind of changes.
Yeah,
things,
it's like you know what I mean. Like you guys talk different, you guys walk different. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I mean, yeah, like I dress pretty decent and like I smell pretty good, but like. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what it's like to be the upper echelon of interesting of I think like society, right?
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I'm going to say this very, very strongly. All of that is like total BS.
Yeah, as we've been talking about in almost every episode. Like it really doesn't matter. Yeah. We don't take the money at the end of the day.
What's funny is like, I mean, I feel like a regular guy too, and we all have insecurity. We're still anxious about the days. Yeah, I agree with Gopal 100%. But at the same time, I don't know what it's like to not have been, a doctor, or I guess I do know, because like I have found things like when I meet people and hang with people, like I used to walk my dog in the morning on the beach every day with an awesome crew. And we just have casual conversations about ocean, whatever it is, our dogs. I do find once you tell someone you're a certain profession, like it changes the dynamic, because then like all these assumptions kind of fill in, and this idea of who you are fill in, and then it really changes the dynamic. And it's kind of really surprising to me, and that kind of comes back on you, and like that kind of factors into who you think you are and your identity as well. Like it's this really complex like circle, like interactive circle.
Yeah. I think, again, the thing I would really stress is that from a philosophical standpoint, and even observationally, we can all say this. These identities, these personas we have are very, very temporary.
They almost like creep up on you, though. It happens slowly. You don't realize it's happening. You're kind of paying attention to the ball the whole time, but there are other factors, there are other players, there are referees, whatever. But you're paying, and so they kind of creep up on you, and when transitions happen slowly, you don't even notice they're happening, right? You don't even notice all these slow, subtle changes that are happening. So I think they kind of sneak up, and because they happen gradually, you don't realize the kind of lack of real substance that they have, like because it feels solid because it's happening slowly, but you don't realize like how changeable it is and how quickly changeable it is,
Yeah.
I will say though, I think even at a certain point in time, we still all play different roles. You know? So we're all playing different roles in our different relationships are really great in that way too, in that it does show you the dynamicness of the sense of identity, because we're playing different roles. We're a son, we're a father, we're whatever it is we are. So we still play different roles, and that's why it's nice having old friends to keep you in check and remind you of maybe some of your older roles and your newer roles and things like that. I think family and old friends are so important in that way. It kind of reminds you of who you are, who you were, and maybe the string that threaded all those different kind of weird beads of who we are,
I like that. We should talk more about Brooks, though. We didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, well, what do you want to talk about?
I mean, bro, he spent 50 years in jail.
Yeah.
And as soon as he got out, it doesn't really give you a time lapse of was it a day or a week or two? We just know that he had a job for a little while. He sucked at bagging.
Yeah.
And then he wrote that letter. Yeah. We don't know how long that letter from when he wrote it to it was received in prison.
Right.
What it was. And then he just offed himself.
Yeah.
And 50, imagine being 50. He probably spent, I mean, I don't think it says when he got in there, but I can only assume maybe he was 20.
Right.
He also had that moment of panic before,
because he wanted to stay in.
That fear was already there. It's not like he got out and then something he already had. He knew, or he maybe predicted, whatever it was. But he had that moment beforehand too. That was pretty intense.
Can I ask you guys this?
Yeah.
If you knew that you was gonna get out and you spent 50 years in jail, would you commit another crime in jail to stay longer, or would you just try to get out?
I think I would try to get out, but I don't know. It's easy to say that. If you've been in there for 50 years, maybe, it becomes the identity.
Yeah, it was a routine for him. He was the librarian.
Yeah, he had a position of status.
He had a crow.
He had people that knew him, people that loved him. If I was really content in there, I'd probably do. I wouldn't kill him. I wouldn't put a knife to my friend's neck, but I'll probably do something to roll a little longer. Maybe, who knows?
Start a fight real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived without women for 50 years. You might as well just finish it. You know what I mean? I don't need them no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would really love to have known how many days it was where he realized and was I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I just had a question for you. You were talking about kind of being institutionalized, and then the fear of what do you mean by that? Kind of when the idea is presented he was institutionalized, and now he was this fear associated with being on the outside, after being after kind of almost being part of the walls of the prison,
Right.
And so what do you mean by that, I guess, or why do you think he killed himself?
I think it's pretty clear. It's because he had a very, very distinct identity when he was in prison, right? And then outside of the prison walls, that identity is blown
He was nothing.
up.
Yeah, he was just the bagger or whatever.
Yeah. And again, this is why I think it's an interesting question: is are we in somewhat of a similar situation where we live within the prison of an identity, which is very, very limited.
I agree, but I think it's like something a little bit more rich than that. Like, sure, that identity, but that I think to use the word just identity is a little kind of dismissive, because like he had people he ate with every day.
Yes,
he had a richness of relationships. He had people that knew him, people that loved him, people that understood him, like people that knew what it was like to commit a crime, go to jail, still accept him for it, still love him for it, still he had relationships, and I think he was seen, the term that a lot of people like to use these days, and he was loved, and I think I think those obviously do create our identity, but he lost that lifeline to to people that knew him and loved him. I think that's a big part of him. Like, I would kill myself too, man, if I didn't have. I hate to say it, but like, if it's like being alone on the planet with no people,
he probably outlived all his family members.
Like our relations are so important. Like I love that. I think there's a scene where he's walking on the street and people are just passing him by, and cars are passing him by, and everything is different. Like, he was there, surrounded by people, but completely alone.
Yeah.
I think COVID did that to a lot of people. It's like the isolation was probably the hardest part of COVID. And so. I think it's also that just being cut off from
the kids.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Like they use the rehabilitated word a lot.
Yeah.
When do you think too many years is too many years? Like, do you think that a life sentence is suffice?
I don't know. I think it's case by case, but I don't know. I
guess suffice for what? For the idea of rehabilitation, you mean?
Yeah, like.
Well, I think that's just a great word
like
to use for like backing
50
people.
50 years is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Or like even Red, he did like what, 30, 40?
Yeah.
And he killed somebody when he was like 20, right?
But I think that's a great example. Like, I think one thing you do not, read about or hear about too much in kind of spirituality reading or that kind of branch or subtopic is you don't hear the word accountability a lot. Like taking a cold, hard look at yourself. And like I really like that scene with Red at the end, with the parole board, because it kind of showed like he took that look, and took him, he took that look. He kind of separated himself from it. He made change. He accepted it. He made changes. He progressed. He was a different person. So it kind of stress the importance of that and kind of moving past that. I think that's rehabilitation, right? That's so however long it takes for that, but there's no timeline for that. It's not like it takes this amount of time for this to, it really, when and if you even hit that point, I think that's rehabilitation.
I mean, me as a person, like if I was that person making that call to have people go out into the real world again, like if you do 30, 40 years and like there's no incident, and like we have, like we're monitoring you, and you're like a upstanding citizen inside this prison, like you're, like he was basically did almost every job that he could do. You know what I mean? I would, like, this guy got to go. You know what I mean? Like the world that he's stepping out to. Like, he went in there when he was like 19. Like, he went into prison when he was like 19, 12.
I love when he talks about himself as a 19. He's like, I would tell this kid this, or I would, like it's almost like he separates himself from that kid, and he almost has compassion for him, which is really nice. But I guess that's why, that kind of annual parole board thing is because every year I mean, if it's done right, I would imagine
he just kept saying like that word rehabilitated. And then the last time he was finally talking about like the regret and accountability, and they're like, all right,
exactly. It's at least in the scene, you assume that they like sensed his sincerity too,
Yeah.
One last theme we want to hit on in regards to the movie, and it's an important aspect of the movie. In fact, it's in the title, the redemption part of the Shawshank Redemption. I think, obviously it's a fictional story, but there's, I think, a very, very powerful message within it of the fact
real.
that, yeah.
It felt real.
Yeah. And of the fact that anyone can redeem themselves regardless of what they've done in their life. It may take a lot of pain and suffering to get there, but, for me, I don't know. I love the movie. I love the way it ends.
Yeah.
Obviously, Red commits a crime by skipping, skipping out.
Yeah.
But I think it's a hopeful message at the end that, there may be a path for anyone, even if they are in a prison, to rehabilitate themselves.
Did Andy do the crime? No one skipping out though.
Yeah.
I think he served his time, bro.
Yeah.
Andy, he didn't deserve to be there, right?
Yeah. He crawled in 500 yards of shit to get out. Like, dude.
Yeah.
He was calculated, bro. Like, he had the thing wrapped up on a bag. Like, that was fire.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool. Yeah. Just the whole thing, like the poster, the rock through that whole thing was like kind of badass, frankly.
I'm saying, like, when I was thinking, right, like as it was explained, I'm like, how did he get the gravel and dirt every day out of the thing? And I was like, and he showed it. I was like, that's fire, bro. The guy thought about every possibility.
Right.
You know what I mean? To like keep, you know what I mean? For what, 20, 30 years? I'm like, dude.
And the movie was well done. My girlfriend was kind of mentioning, I've seen it. I think I've seen it fully once, but it'd be interesting to go back and watch it again and like kind of link all those little parts where you're like slipping sand out, getting the rock hammer, kind of asking for the poster, like it was, I think the movie was well done in slowly presenting those little parts too.
He knew it was achievable when he like touched it.
Yeah, and then it kind of easily slopped off a little bit.
Yeah, he was I could probably chip at this.
On. Yeah. But like he was thoughtful, and also like it's something that obviously took patience and time. Like we want everything now. You want to get out of jail now. I think I would. That's where like if it happened to me, like the anger would come in because I want it now, and I'm not getting it now. No, I'm not getting it now. But like to have like just the composure and patience and to do it slowly. Knowing it's going to take long, knowing there's so many moving parts, knowing there's a risk, but still doing it anyway in this slow, calculated, thoughtful way, and being patient about it and pulling it off, and kind of having fun through the process despite everything that's happening, like that's.
I think before that Tommy guy got there, I think he was willing to do the time.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Gopes. Like hope is such a big part of this movie, right? Like the hope is like kind of this really important underlying theme. But that's also not a word that you really come across too much in, I think, at least in some of the spiritual reading that I've done or some like things around like Hindu philosophy or Hindu whatever that I've read personally.
Right.
I don't know if I've interacted with it in kind of reading about other religions, but I'm just wondering like, where do you think that hope kind of falls into place within religious literature or spiritual literature or whatever?
No, I think, you could call it a hope or, again, in traditions, they would say it's a truth is that, with the consciousness within all of us is something much, much bigger than, what we believe it is. And so you can say it's hope, whatever. I think every human being has a very, very bright destiny in front of them, once they're ready to get there.
Wow. That's a real beautiful thought, frankly. It's real optimistic, man. I actually really like that, dude.
Yeah, but I think the question is, this idea of hope. You can. There's kind of like irrational hope where you're just like, it's just not. You're not thinking things through,
or short-sighted, or like
or there's the more, And again, here's a case where Andy, he never gave up hope, but he also never gave up his own effort, and for 20 years he took, small amounts of gravel and dirt outside of his prison cell so that he could get out of the prison, right? So it's one thing to have hope, but what are you doing every day to get yourself to where you want to be? It's not enough to just sit there and just say, hope. I mean, you gotta do something for it,
What are your thoughts on just that word hope? Like
in terms of like prison or like regular life?
Anything like there's how you've interacted with in whatever you've read or heard with regards to religion or in life or whatever it means. It's kind of like for me, I was thinking about it because, that the word hope is mentioned a lot. I'm like, what is hope kind of mean. You know, I just started asking myself that.
I mean, I really don't know what it's like to be in prison and hope to get out of prison. But I mean, I think we all have hope in some way. Like I hope to, I don't know, that better paying job. You know what I mean? Like just like simple things like hope. I really do. This is something that I thought about. I hope to at least live to 75. That is an actual hope of mine.
Yeah. Are you taking the steps to get there?
Yeah. I mean, from my doctor says, besides me being obese, I mean, I'm pretty healthy.
Yeah, good.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
my heart's good, you know.
And also you're smiling, man.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, I think. You know, like.
So for our donation today, Neil has selected an organization that's near and dear to his heart. So do you want to?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things I kind of want to, kind of touching back on Brooks and stuff like that is, I think the thing that allows or helps certain people to get through parts of their lives is just social support. You know, like having family, having friends. Like I think the reason Brooks didn't make it on the outside is he couldn't take his friends with him and his family with him. You know, he couldn't take those people with him. I think if they were with him, they might have had a good time together. Who knows? You know, and so I think social support is just so important. I think it's the thing that decides whether someone makes it through a tough time in their life or they don't. And I think my karate school and my sensei was part of all of the village, you know, for me at least. And I'm just so always grateful to them. And so my friend Cheryl continued this organization, Karate for Change, where they provide that for people, whether it's financial support, you know, whatever people need to kind of advance in their lives, move forward, or kind of enrich their lives through karate, through traveling, through going to tournaments and whatever. So, you know, I really respect and love the work that they're doing. I've participated in some of their events and they're fun. It's good stuff, man. It's good vibes, good family vibes too. So, yeah, I just wanted to give him a little boost and very grateful to Gopal and his family for being willing to support that also. This organization is Karate for Change. Yeah, Karate for Change. Cheryl, she works along with a lot of great people. She competed internationally, like international champion in karate, and kind of is now supporting other people to help them get there as well. And also my co-dojo mate, I've thrown some punches at her, and she's thrown some kicks at me, and she's a great homie and a great person. So, Karate for Change, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good episode. So, Ray, are you ready for our minute here?
Yeah, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Open my eyes.
Dude, that's so crazy how long a minute feels. Was that a minute?
Yeah, it's crazy. I be
That's
telling them, like, bro, that's
nuts,
not a minute
dude.
sometimes, bro. That feels like two.
That was, no, I felt like, that was nuts, dude. But that was cool. It was cool to do that with you guys too, man. That was neat.
Yeah.
Ray, you got our quote for us to wrap up?
It's from Shawshank Redemption. It's from the letter that he wrote when Red went to the place that he told him to go to.
Oh yeah.
And he said, remember, Red, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies.
Oh yeah, that's the no good. I really like that. No good thing ever dies, man. No good. I love that. I love that a lot, actually, because sometimes we kind of wonder what's either our effect in the world, or you have someone that you love and care for so much, but I like the idea that the good of it, like the essence good of it, never really goes, and so all the good doesn't matter, even if you don't see a product, or even if the person is God, that good is always there.
Are hope and faith the same thing?
I think they're very, very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's what it is. I was like, for me, I was like, how come that word hope, like, I don't see it in whatever, like, Hindu literature that I've read, which I'm like, even some of the other stuff, I'm like, you don't see hope, but you do see faith. You do see faith a lot. Faith and devotion.
It feels like faith you're supposed to have, and it feels like hope is like it's not in reaching distance.
Yeah, it's a little bit out there, whereas faith is something a little bit now. That's cool. Thanks for that kind of tweak.
Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we hope, for anyone out there watching this, we hope, you've enjoyed the discussion. And if you haven't seen The Shawshank Redemption, you should, because it's a great movie.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And then watch The Green Mile right after.
And come by Rockaway Beach. Yeah. We'll go for a surf.
Yeah. So until next time, this is Chakra Free Radio signing off.